Hello Year 7, here is your do now for today's lesson. Please pause the video and complete the do now. On the next slide you will find the answers to the do now. Please make sure you correct any that you got wrong and give yourself a mark out of 4. Today we are continuing with the chemical reactions topic, and this is lesson 4, representing reactions. I'm now going to disappear from the corner so that you can see the full image of the slides. Your first task is in a sentence to write the name and the number of atoms of each element in these molecules of compounds. I've given you some help by going through an example with you. So the first example is carbon dioxide, which is CO2. So in my book I would write carbon dioxide contains 1 atom of carbon and 2 atoms of oxygen, because as you can see there is 1 carbon atom but there are 2 oxygen atoms. Have a go for calcium oxide, hydrogen peroxide, methane and ammonia. Pause the video and complete those 4 questions. If you really want to challenge yourself Year 7, have a go at this extension task. This is talking about ammonium carbonate, and here you can see we have some brackets with a 2 on the outside, and that means we do everything inside the brackets twice. So we can write ammonium carbonate like so, as I've underlined in red there. Could you now write a sentence for that compound now I've shown you how to use the brackets? First of all, quick recap of what a chemical change is. So, a couple of lessons ago we learnt that a chemical change is one that makes new substances, and the atoms change how they're bonded together, and that is shown in this diagram below and in this chemical equation. But how do we show a chemical reaction? There are several ways in which we can do this. The first is in a word equation. Here are 2 examples. Iron plus oxygen goes to iron oxide. The second says that oxygen plus glucose goes to carbon dioxide and water. When we use word equations, they clearly show us what we need to put in and what we get out of the reaction. Everything on the left of the arrow we call a reactant. It's what we put into the reaction. And everything on the right of the arrow is called a product. It's what we get out. The second way we can show chemical reactions is symbol equations. These use the symbols for the elements which can be found on your periodic table in your handbooks. The big numbers in front of the molecules just tell you how many molecules of each we need for that reaction to happen. So we have 2 iron plus oxygen goes to 2 iron oxide, as well as 6 oxygen plus glucose goes to 6 water plus 6 carbon dioxide. You don't need to remember these yet, but they may be useful for you to write down as examples in your book. The last way that we will look at of how we can show chemical reactions is these particle diagrams, and these show us exactly how the atoms are rearranged during the reaction. So we have our 2 iron, let me try and write on my tablet, plus our O2. Notice with this one the number goes after and is little because it's 2 oxygen atoms joined together, and this goes to 2 FeO. Excuse my bad handwriting there Year 7, I'm sure you can do much better in your books. So just a little recap on some chemical formula. Remember, those small numbers in the molecule tell us how many of the atom there is before. So here, this 2 tells us there is 2 oxygens, and just like in H2O, that 2 again means there is 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom. Your second task is to open the document labelled chemical formulae and work through it, drawing it out in your exercise book. Do not worry if you don't have any coloured pens or pencils, just put the chemical symbol in a circle like so. So if I was doing iron, I would draw a circle with Fe inside. Make sure you draw a key just like they have done on the sheet. Pause the video and complete this work. If you're stuck, don't forget you can always message me on Teams. Here is your periodic table that we looked at. Everything that's coloured in blue and is on the left of the table is a metal, whilst all those that have no shading and are white, including hydrogen, are non-metals, and that's going to be really useful to us in the next section. We need to know how to name simple chemicals, and those are ones that contain a metal and a non-metal, so one from the blue side and one from the white side, and this goes through some examples of how to name them. So if we have magnesium and oxygen, we call it magnesium oxide. We can also name more complicated compounds. So if they contain 2 elements and oxygen, the non-metal usually changes to have the word ate at the end. So if we have nickel, sulfur and oxygen, it becomes nickel sulfate. Finally, we're going to learn how to do some formula writing, and these uses those symbols that we find on the periodic table, so you will need yours out on the table with you. And don't forget, those numbers tell us how many of each atom we need in the molecule, as shown in the examples below. Pause if you need to have a look at this. Your third and final task for this lesson, Year 7, is to open the worksheet labelled Naming Chemicals. Copy the table into your exercise book and fill in the blanks. Then use the table and the examples to help you name the chemicals from their formula. Then finally have a go at writing 3 rules to help you explain what you have learned. That's the end of this session. Once you've completed this, please take photos and upload it to Teams so I can see your wonderful work, and I'll be giving out R points. Don't forget, message me on Teams if you have any problems, and I will speak to you soon. Bye!